Welcome back. Sacred Sage here, and I'm back with a video. I'm going to talk about cameras for a second. So, I got Daz set up. I got everything how I want it. I got my lighting set up, camera. I want to render this out. But first, I need to fix my camera. So, if we go into iRay right now, to give it a second. It looks nice. There's no depth of field. There's no nothing. It's literally just a basic camera. Let me go ahead and take off these thirds rule. Boop. So it's a nice shot. At the model, looks like she's talking to somebody, and got a nice good green glow coming from the left. You can see it on her face. That slight glow. Got a little bit of glint in the eyes, not a whole lot. If I want more, I can always throw a little bit more in Photoshop. But beyond that, camera-wise, it's just a basic, I just created this camera, and that's it. We're going to change that. So let's go back into texture mode. And I'm actually going to get into perspective view. And now we're going to select our camera. So we go to the camera tab right here, and then camera should already be selected, but if it's not, you can click that. We want to make sure the headlamp's off. Like right now it has it on auto, but it's actually, I already have it off in the render settings, but just to be sure, I'll make sure it's definitely off. I can tell it's off because of what I just checked. It'll be a really bright freaking light otherwise. So let's go to camera, and we're going to turn depth of field on. Now, as soon as you do, you're going to see these two little lines, right? So as you go further, focal distance. So we're going to start with that one. Focal distance is where do you want these lines at, right? So we can go all the way up to her face, just like so, right? But as you can tell, it's only covering a small portion, right? I don't even know how this will look in iRay. We can go ahead and boot it up and look. We're going to be changing the size of all of that in just a second. So that is basically the distance of where you want it. It actually doesn't look bad. The problem is it's just too much, right? There's way too much blur here, right? This is really sharp though. That's actually really sharp, but we're gonna still change it. So let's go back into texture mode. Now we can start messing with these two settings up here. So frame width and frame length. So when you mess with length, you'll notice as you get lower, that box is getting bigger, right? So right here looks to be about good. Nothing more will be out of the picture. So that's probably where I'd have my focal length at, right? Now, if we go back to here, oh, and you see the picture's changed. We're no longer close up, right? That's where this focal width comes into play. So we go back to where we originally had it. So I had it right about, I want to say right about there, right? So now that I got that set, so that's what I use these two, focal width and focal length for. You can do other little tricks, and you can see the bars stay exactly the same. You can do other tricks with those, like if I'm going to remember that 35. If you jack this way back, you can see how you can do like a fisheye effect with the camera. I don't want that, but just something if that's what you're going for some sort of funny shot or drunk shot. You can do a drunk shot just by messing with these, like ugh. Like Red Dead Redemption with the Lenny things. All they did was mess with the camera and blur it. So we got our shot. We got our box about where we want, right? So let's go into our camera, and now let us look at how much blur is in the camera. So this blur is not too bad. As you can tell, it's less than what it was because it's a bigger area that we're covering. So the blur is not as bad, right? So that's not too shabby. But let's say you don't want that much blur, right? Let's say you want a lot less. You can mess with this f-stop. So let me go back into texture mode. Go back into this. Now, what f-stop is going to do is when you increase it, it'll be less blur. When you decrease it, it's going to be more blur, right? Now, when you mess with this, you'll also notice that gets stretched out as well. So, what I normally do, like when I first started doing cameras and started trying to do depth of field, the only thing I messed with was f-stop, and I kept the focal width and length the exact same. I don't do that anymore. I find that thinking about it from a point of view of, okay, so this is how much I want to cover with these squares, and I will just use the f-stop for how much blur I want, does a lot better. So that being said, let's go ahead and we got the f-stop. Let's go ahead and just jack this up to 50, right? And now, and if that's just too much area, you can still tweak with these settings. But normally I don't tweak with these settings once I start messing with the f-stop, because it's just, at that point, I'm just looking for how much blur I want. Now, with this much f-stop, it's probably not going to be that much of a blur. We'll see. You can tell it's barely a blur, right? Compared to what it was when we had it at 22, there was a little bit more of a blur. Now, granted, I like this 22, so I'd probably keep it here maybe around 28. I'll probably do like a shot like this, right? But that's basically all there is on the basics of the camera. So if you like this video, hit that like, subscribe, leave a comment, and help support the channel. YouTube's algorithm is utter garbage, so it's even hard to get seen anymore. Anyways, take care, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.